This video demonstrates the step-by-step process I used to practice observational drawing through a drapery study. For this exercise, I chose a button-down shirt arranged on my coffee table. I positioned the fabric to move in several directions, creating a variety of fold shapes that allowed me to analyze how form is influenced by structure and gravity. I lit the shirt from above to maintain consistent lighting, avoiding confusion caused by multiple light sources. I completed the drawing digitally on my iPad so I could share the process as an animation. Your instructor may provide different materials or subject guidelines, but the general process applies across media. This drawing begins with line work, and tonal value becomes increasingly important in the second half to define structure and light. To begin, I sighted and lightly blocked in the basic perimeter of the shirt, along with the edge of the table. The table edge served as the only suspension point for the drapery. At the suspension point, I observed a major directional shift where gravity caused the fabric to fall off the table edge. The rest of the shirt was supported by the flat surface, resulting in subtler folds apart from the sleeves. When you try this, you may have multiple suspension points depending on your setup. I recommend loosely gesturing in the supporting structure during your block-in stage to guide your drawing. Next, I added more specificity to the perimeter. Drapery drawing begins as a planar analysis. Identifying visible directional changes or turn points along the outer edge provides cues for locating and defining the direction and destination of interior planes. Then I moved into the interior of the form and began planning the drapery by drawing the highest contrast edges, where the lightest and darkest areas meet, using faceted lines. You'll remember from previous drawings, faceted lines often help simplify and speed up the planar analysis process. But depending on the fabric, smooth, arcing lines may better reflect the movement and character of a fold. In this case, the cotton shirt was a bit starchy and held its structure, so the faceted approach efficiently captured what I observed. Once the shapes were defined, I used line to show the planar edges, the areas where the fabric turned toward or away from the light. I divided each form into 3 planes: an ascending plane, a top or curved plane, and a descending plane. These divisions helped me understand the volume of each fold and how it responded to light. I continued refining the sketch by adding more straight lines to clarify the direction of the folds I observed. At this point, I mostly ignored the striped pattern on the shirt. I'll return to that detail later, once the form is more fully established. These structural lines helped clarify how the fabric moved through space and where folds overlapped. I kept adjusting until I had clearly described the outer edges of each major fold. Next, I masked in a light middle grey tone across the entire form. Be careful not to lose your line work at this stage. If edges start to disappear, lightly reinforce them as you go. Using my eraser, I lifted areas of the base tone to reveal the planes that were most illuminated. Adding this layer of light and shadow created a tonal structure that helped reinforce the underlying planes of the form. Sometimes folds overlapped or folded over so that I couldn't see all 3 planes. But overall, you can count on a rhythm in the structure of a fold, up over down. Lightest, mid-tone, darkest, or ascending, top, descending. As I reached the sleeves, I observed what are called spiral folds. This type of fold occurs when fabric is sewn into a cylindrical shape, such as sleeves or pant legs. These folds emerge from the twisting and compression within that tubular structure. Spiral folds often interleave, alternate, or merge into one another, creating a more self-supporting structure than folds found in broad, flat fabric, or in the drop folds seen where the shirt falls off the edge of the table. In observational drawing, spiral folds often appear as repeating curves that wrap around the form and intersect in ways that resemble Y, V, or rhombus-shaped formations. I added shadows to the planes and let them build progressively. The darkest values were placed where planes dropped into shadow or turned away from the light. Be patient at this stage. I kept evaluating proportion, direction, and light logic as I worked. The goal was not to capture every wrinkle, but to simplify the drapery into a set of organized forms, each with clear structure, visible planes, and responsive value. My drawing could have ended here, but I chose to go ahead and add a suggestion of the striped pattern. Apologies for the brief skip in the footage. I forgot to turn on screen recording for the first few minutes of adding the stripes. For the striped pattern, I used a contour line strategy, allowing each mark to convey the topography of the surface. Importantly, I didn't draw every stripe right away. Instead, I spaced them strategically, setting clear guidelines to control direction and spacing. This helped ensure that the stripes were informed by the planar direction of the fabric, rather than simply following or repeating the direction of the previous line.